South Point offers all the types of entertainment you'd expect at a first-class Las Vegas resort. Did you know our 400-seat showroom is one of Las Vegas's top destinations for live entertainment? Enjoy live performances by classic Vegas entertainers, bands, and today's hottest comedians, plus a rock and dance floor. You can also enjoy live entertainment at the Grand View Lounge, where you'll feel all the vibes of old Las Vegas. Enjoy the music, and if you love to laugh, don't miss The Dirty at 12:30, our very own free comedy show. Every Friday night at 12:30 a.m. in the Grand View Lounge. The Dirty is 100% free, so arrive early. Go to southpointcasino.com or call the box office at 77136 for today's performances at the showroom and the Grand View Lounge. When you're ready for your favorite cocktail, stop in and unwind at one of our 7 specialty lounges. There's a bar around every corner, because you're in Vegas, baby. South Point Casino has plenty of attractions for the whole family. Catch a movie. Our 16-screen movie theater includes 2 XD Extreme screens for the ultimate in viewing, sound, and luxury. After the show, treat the family to a variety of treats at our old-fashioned ice cream parlor, Kate's Corner. We scoop up a variety of creamy concoctions, including smoothies, hand-dipped cones, milkshakes, malts, sodas, and sundaes. At Kate's, there's something for everyone. And if you've still got time to spare, our bowling center might be right up your alley. Voted Best of Las Vegas, it's a great place for friends and family fun. 64 lanes, a pro shop, snack bar, and arcade. And while the kids are bowling, you can play slots and sip on a drink in the Alley Cat Lounge while overlooking the lanes. For our more serious and professional bowlers, the South Point is also home to a separate tournament bowling plaza.
Welcome in. Good morning. It is Sports by the Book. Air on a Thursday morning. I was going to say final Thursday of October, but that's not true because Halloween's a week from today. I'm Jeff Parles. Happy to be with you as always. We're going to get you ready for a day in sports here on a Thursday. We're loaded up. College football, the NFL, the NBA, some hockey, even some baseball. It doesn't quite count as an equinox because we'll get that on Monday. But we at least will get you ready for everything since the World Series begins tomorrow. The Rams and the Vikings get Week 8 going. Plenty to go through here today in a nice little 30-minute capsule as we be done in about a half hour. And then, of course, coming up on South Point Studio will be Gone Racing. Brendan Gone, Jeff Motley. Get you ready for the week in NASCAR as the go deeper into the postseason in the NASCAR season. All right. Let's start today with the NFL game. Week 8 underway in Los Angeles, technically Inglewood, as the LA Rams, coming off of their less than impressive victory over the Las Vegas Raiders last week, 20-15 in that one, where the Rams did not cover any of the numbers. Game went way under the total when it was all said and done. We'll take on the Minnesota Vikings tonight. The Vikings lose their first game of the 2024 season in dramatic fashion to the Detroit Lions. Jake Bates, field goal with 5 seconds left, gets it done for Detroit. 31-29 the final. Sam Darnold was good, but not good enough in that one. Wild game where Minnesota led by 10, was down by 14, came back, took the lead in the fourth quarter, but ended up falling short, losing 31-29. So, injury report-wise, on the Rams side, Cooper Kupp's back after being out since week 2 with an injury. Puka Nakua's window has been opened. He's questionable. Nakua, of course, injured in opening night in Detroit, hurt his knee. Now is questionable tonight. His window has been activated to come back, designated from IR to return. So he is questionable tonight. Still no Noteboom on the offensive line. Still no Troy Reeder on the defensive side for the LA Rams. On the Minnesota side, Blake Cashman, who did not play last week, will be out again with a toe injury. But the one that's interesting tonight, Aaron Jones, by the way, fully practiced after this lingering hamstring injury that's hung around for most of the season. So he's going to play tonight. But TJ Hawkinson, who, of course, tore his ACL a year ago, has not played yet this year. He is questionable tonight. The IR designated to return for Hawkinson with this one. He is questionable tonight. We may see him in this one. Again, more likely than not, we probably won't. But if we do, hey, look, that's another weapon for Minnesota. If you look at these two teams, obviously teams in different directions. There was a nonsense rumor this week that the Vikings and Rams were talking about a Stafford trade. That was nonsense, as we knew. Minnesota does not get downgraded at all in power ratings after last week. No reason to downgrade them. They still are one of the high-end teams in this league. And quite frankly, the whole NFC North at this point has to be considered all at least top 15 teams at this point. And I have three of them in my top 7, which you'll see later in the day on Football Frenzy at 3 this afternoon. But I'm in the camp here more so than anything, where this line is only 3. This is a 48 on the total here today. If you look at the rest of the market, this is the only flat 3 in the market. It's actually juiced to the dog here, where I even see a 2.5 on Minnesota. And I get LA's getting Cooper Kupp back. I get that we might see Puka Nacua tonight. I get this is a short week with basically as poor travel as you could ask for in this Thursday night scenario, where this is about a 4-hour flight for Minneapolis. This is longer than the NFL usually allows. Of course, last week we saw Denver go to New Orleans on a Thursday and a long travel game for a Thursday night, and Denver kicked the bejesus out of the Saints last week. And here you are with this similar situation. I'm floored that this is only 3 and going the other direction. This feels like a good spot for Minnesota to bounce back after their gut-wrenching loss to a really good team in Detroit. A really good team. They're the best team in the NFC that they lost to last week. And the Rams defense really is not good. And last week for the Rams, that had to do with playing a mediocre let's actually call it out as playing a bad offense last week in the Raiders. Now, the week before, they weren't bad against Green Bay. Packers did end up averaging 6 yards per play. Rams were opportunistic with obviously that ridiculous pick 6 that Love threw in that game. But this is a very mediocre defense that the Rams have. Their defense is pretty average. And Minnesota should be able to take full advantage. And we've talked about all year the offensive line woes injury-wise for the LA Rams. Minnesota still, even with last week, still number 2 in the NFL in pressure rate. Still number 2. Only the Texans are better. So this feels like a really good matchup for Minnesota. The way the market's going, I'm waiting this out. I want a flat 2.5 on the Vikings. I think I'm going to get it by the time this game kicks here in Vegas. I really do. With the way the market is going, where, again, Circa's 3 even on Minnesota. Westgate, 3 plus 105 on Minnesota. Caesars, 3 even. Again, Chris and company don't move off minus 110, except when they do the minus 105 juice for the NCAA tournament later in the year. I would just wait this out. Wait till we hit 2.5. And go from there on the Minnesota Vikings. That would be the way I'd look to play this game here tonight. The better team, yes, on the road, but I think this line is at least a point or 2 off here tonight, with the Vikings should be being a bigger favorite here tonight. All right, let's go to college football tonight. 2 games. How about last night? How about Kennesaw State? Let's give Kennesaw State a round of applause real quick. Sean agrees with me on that. Kennesaw State, the second biggest underdog of the college football season, to win in an outright fashion. They were 27-point underdogs last night. They upset Liberty for their first ever win as an FBS program. Congratulations to the Owls. And quite frankly, it's a good thing Liberty lost, because now we don't even have to think about them potentially sneaking into the college football playoff. They're done. That's good. The team's really not good. There you go. Look at that. Plus 26. Pretty good. Money line, depending on where you got it, was as high as 16 to 1. Here was actually one of the lower numbers at 13 to 1. But regardless, if you had that money line, we're gonna pat ourselves on the back. here in this one. All right, let's go to tonight. Let's start with actually the later game on the rotation numbers. So 113, 114. This is actually the earlier start time, but because these rotation numbers come out and they don't change them, they get some funky orders as we know. Georgia Southern and Old Dominion, which opened ODU minus 1.5, got as high as 2.5. And now we're down to a pick this morning, and I think that move is correct. I made Georgia Southern a 1.5-point favorite in this game. So I was a little bit surprised that this came ODU as high as 2.5. I wasn't strong enough to bet Georgia Southern even at the better numbers. This is a pretty brutal spot for Georgia Southern coming off. They're really controlling upset win against James Madison, 28-14 last week in Statesboro. And quite frankly, that game was really not even that competitive. It was a pretty thorough domination by the Eagles in that game. Held JMU under 4 yards per play, about 6 yards per play for the Eagles. A pretty thorough domination over a team that was a multiple score favorite in JMU a week ago. Old Dominion last week with again, both of these teams are off a pretty brutal, both in pretty brutal spots here because ODU upset Texas State last week, a 24-14 win. They made Jordan McLeod make mistakes for the Bobcats. Again, a Bobcat team that had dreams of a college football playoff berth. Those are definitely done at this point. So this is, I agree with what the market's done in this game. The move is right. And you're looking at a scenario here where I would just stay off of this at this point at pick. Is the wait in game, see if ODU scores first, see how Georgia Southern is looking. If they look fine and ODU's got like a 3-0 lead or maybe even a 7-0 lead, I'd hop in the other direction with the Eagles. That would be the only way I'd look to play this one here tonight in the Sun Belt. The ACC with Thursday night action as well. This is an old Big East football matchup. Syracuse goes to Pitt. Panthers undefeated. Orange 5-1. How about this? Who had these two teams being 11-1 combined going into this matchup? Who had that? Two teams that were north of 100-1 to win the ACC going into the year. Pitt has already gone over their win total at most books, which was mostly 5.5 this year. It is a very, very fun matchup tonight here in Pitt. Two quarterbacks that were at forget power conference teams. They were at the elite of the elite. Holstein, Alabama transfer. McCord, obviously the starter for Ohio State a year ago. Both of these guys have found their proper level here in the ACC, and both of these guys have played the quarterback position at a high level. Kyle McCord this year, real quick, looking at the Syracuse side of things. Kyle McCord is a top 30 quarterback in the year by ESPN's QBR. His completion percentage actually is technically down from a year ago, but when you take out the yards after the catch, his numbers are very similar, only about 1/10 of a yard difference. Of course, when you have Ibuka, Marvin Jr., when you have all those guys with the yak are going to really help you. Not as much yak this year, the good type of yak yards after catch. Your numbers aren't going to quite be as good, but McCord has been very efficient, protecting the ball well enough. Last time out, they played 12 days ago in Raleigh. It was a weird game. They beat NC State by a touchdown. That was a game where NC State got steamed. Syracuse was a 4-point favorite. That thing closed the pick, and Syracuse ended up winning that game outright by 7 points. Really was the right side the whole game. It was 24-7. It got close at the end because Syracuse's defense messed around, but the Orange won that game pretty comfortably against a mediocre NC State team who at the time was winless on that one. Looking at Pitt, there have been a few teams that have been team luck box so far this year. And they've been one of the team luck boxes. Them, BYU. BYU is the biggest in the country. We'll get to them over the weekend. But Pitt, with a few different breaks going against him, is very easily 3-3 at this point. Big deficit against Cincinnati, came out of that hole, won by a point, or down by 23 points in that game. West Virginia, backyard brawl, they were down 10 with 4 minutes to go. Holstein leads 2 touchdown drives, and Pitt wins by 4 in that game. UNC, that game was tied at halftime, and then Pitt was honestly the better team in that game, and they beat them up in the second half. And in that Cal game, Pitt had to go on a drive to end the game. 17-15, did not cover in that one against Cal. This kind of feels like, from a handicapping perspective, very similar to what that Syracuse-UNLV game was, where UNLV was favored in that game by close to this margin, depending on what number you got at the end, 5.5, 6, and 5. Feels like it's too much. I do have questions about Syracuse's defense in this game holding up against a Pitt offense that's been much better than expected. But this feels like a lot of points to be getting in a matchup that's pretty dead even. So I took 6. I even sprinkled a little bit on the Syracuse money line. This is the only 6 left behind us. So if you like Syracuse, you got to bet it sooner rather than later, because I don't think this 6 is making it to game time here tonight, because the rest of the market besides us here at the South Point is 5.5 on this game. I'm all in on Syracuse here. I think they are the better team when this is all said and done. They have the better quarterback. I like them outright tonight. I like them plus the 6 against Pitt. And then Pitt's schedule gets really tough the next few weeks. Road trip to Dallas for SMU. They get Clemson at home. They have to go to Louisville. 3 games right there. I just mentioned they're going to be underdogs in. But they still have a path to 9-3, 8-4 with Virginia and Boston College on the docket here today. All right, Bob, we'll hit a break in a second, but want to mention the chat. Good morning to everyone in there. John's in there, like in the Vikings tonight. Justin Jefferson, anytime touchdown. Cooper Kupp, over 6.5 receptions. Okay, John is going with the star wide receiver bunch here tonight. Risen Way, always in there as well. Our good friend Risen Way, always appreciate you chatting along. And Vince Las Vegas, brightening our day. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Vince Las Vegas as well. All right, we'll take a quick break. When we get back, I'll give my thoughts on the World Series, since that gets going tomorrow, and some NBA talk, some games today, some futures talk that I'm looking at, as this season is only 3 days young. We'll talk about that next. Sports by the Book, right here at the South Point studio.
Once you've satisfied your hunger, get ready for more of the hottest casino games in Vegas. Our 24-hour, 30-table non-smoking poker room proudly hosts all the most popular poker games with a variety of betting limits. Visit the poker room for a schedule of daily tournaments. Whether you're going to hold 'em or fold 'em, the best place for poker is at South Point Casino. You'll notice that our craps tables are usually the loudest in the casino. If you've never played, join one of our free craps lessons to find out what makes this game so exciting. Check with the craps dealer for schedules and give it a roll. Bingo is also an exciting way to spend your time. We offer 7 sessions of bingo every day. Bingo! And each session includes a cash ball jackpot, 12 bingo games, a progressive double action game, and a $10,000 bonus coverall. Electronic units are available. If you haven't played bingo with us, give it a try today. Guests can also get in on the action at our one-of-a-kind race and sports books. 2 separate rooms designed to maximize your experience and comfort. Our sports book, with over 400 seats, puts you right in the middle of the action, 24 hours a day. The friendly ticket writers are happy to help, and it's conveniently located next to the famous Del Mar Deli, where you'll find supersized portions of delicious deli items like roast beef, pastrami, and Reuben sandwiches, or soups, salads, and pizza, plus spectacular desserts fit for a king. And right next door is the race book, over 150 seats, each with its own TV screen. There are 16 interactive player terminals, so you can bet right from your seat.
Welcome back in Sports by the Book here on a Thursday morning. All right, I know there's no baseball today, but I want to bring it up because the World Series begins tomorrow. We won't be spending much time on that on the Football Frenzy show, so I at least want to get my thoughts out here between the first 1v1 World Series in over a decade. The Cardinals and the Red Sox in 2013 was the last time we got both top seeds in their respective leagues into the World Series. And quite frankly, this is, for Major League Baseball perspective, you got the three best players in baseball in this series. You have the two biggest brands. This is a mega series, regardless of any way you slice it. Game one price on the board there. Garrett Cole against Jack Flaherty. Minus 121 on the Dodgers. That's a small move from the opener of minus 123, with the money coming in on the Bronx Bombers, with Garrett Cole, the ace, making the start. We don't know who's starting game two yet for the Yankees. We know Yamamoto's going to go game two, game six for the Los Angeles Dodgers here. Flaherty will go games 1 and 5. You have Buehler going game 3, and then the Dodgers will settle on a bullpen game in game 4. Yankees, we don't know after Cole tomorrow night. Series pricing-wise, the Dodgers are minus 130 favorites. The Yankees are plus 110. Our friends over at FTN, they do great work analytically, betting-wise, pop this into their simulation 100,000 times on the World Series. Seems like a lot, right? But you get the correct sort of analytic review if you do that. You know what the numbers popped out to, guys? It popped out to exactly 50-50 on this series. Exactly. So the computers have this as a very evenly tight series, and quite frankly, the price tells you that. I agree with the Dodgers being the slightest of favorites, and let's be honest, minus 130 is a pretty small favorite, all things considered, when we're dealing with the team that was the favorite the whole year. The Dodgers were the favorite the entire year, 4-1, 5-1. They never got higher than 7-1 at most shops this year to win the World Series. So it makes a lot of sense that the Dodgers are still favored here. And for me, after watching both of those championship league series where the Yankees were clearly the better team, the Guardians really made them work in those 3 games in Cleveland, but the Yankees found a way, won that in 5. And the Dodgers, who were clearly the better team in the National League Championship Series, dispatching of my Mets in 6. The Dodgers question, the 2 question marks in this series is very simple. The Dodgers, with really 2.5 starting pitchers. I know Buehler pitched very well in game 3 against the Mets, but that's the first time Buehler's looked good all season. And a guaranteed bullpen game. What happens if Jack Flaherty loses game 1 to Garrett Cole, which is squarely in play? That's the path for the Yankees in this series. Cole's going to match up with Flaherty twice. If Garrett Cole beats Jack Flaherty in game 1 and game 5, the New York Yankees are probably going to win the World Series. Now, that would mean that the Yankees have to beat Buehler and win a bullpen game, or, I don't know, wouldn't even have to beat Yamamoto in that circumstance. But Flaherty, to me, I expect him to look more like he did in game 1 against the Mets, as opposed to that disaster in game 5 where the Mets just destroyed him in Citi Field in what was the final Met win of the season. I still like the Dodgers, though. I think their lineup is deeper. Ohtani is still, even with the greatness of Aaron Judge and Juan Soto, Ohtani is the best player in this series. Even with the injury to Freddie Freeman's ankle and the question marks surrounding him, he missed multiple games in the NLCS because of the ankle, and he missed game 4 of the NLDS as well. I still like the Dodgers' depth better. But the Yankees are absolutely live in this series. I think if you can do a little bit better than plus 111, I would consider taking Garrett Cole in game 1. But this would be a Dodger play for me, especially if you see lower to minus 130 when this is all said and done on this series. Those are the game 1 prices up there right now. Dodgers minus 121, Yankees plus 111 on that dime line here for the game 1 World Series tomorrow night in Dodger Stadium. All right, let's go to some NBA futures talk here. Let's look at this. Let's first of all, we're pulling up the numbers for the futures on the NBA side of things. Let's look at what we've seen so far these first few nights of the NBA season. We saw the Boston Celtics just absolutely wallop the New York Knicks on opening night. And you're in a scenario here where the Knicks make that big trade in the offseason with Karl Anthony Towns. And look, it's a big problem moving forward for the New York Knicks. where you look at, there you go, there's your odds to win the championship right now. The Knicks are the third favorite. Actually, you know what's very interesting with both of those numbers? Both teams involved in that mega trade less than a month before the season, which you just don't see in the NBA very often. They're the third and the fourth favorites to win the title. The Knicks are plus 650. The Timberwolves are 8-1. You watch Minnesota on opening night? They look like a jumbled mess right now, and it's going to take time. But I do not like that trade for either team, the Knicks or the Timberwolves. Those two teams are on the do not bet list on the futures market for sure. And that fifth favorite right now, Philadelphia, they're definitely on the no bet list, because when are we going to see Paul George and Joel Embiid at any point? Their number is going to go way up because those two dudes are just not healthy right now. And the Sixers are already getting investigated for how they're managing Embiid's injury already. Not even 3 days into the season. It's just way too short on the Sixers. But then you can start getting into the interesting zone. By the way, Celtics plus 325 to win the title. If you want to take a piece of it, I can't really blame you. They look like an absolute juggernaut on opening night. And as the broadcast, as Reggie Miller said multiple times on TNT on Tuesday night, and he's right. How often does a team win the title and then the next year, both of their two-star players are coming up being disrespected in a big way during the summer? Which is true. Because Jason Tatum barely played in the Olympics, and Jaylen Brown was not selected for the Olympic team after Kawhi Leonard left. So pretty much a scenario there where, yeah, they're probably worth it. Ryan, you can throw those back up there real quick, actually. The Thunder, who are at 6-1 real quick on this team. The Thunder, who are, without a shadow of a doubt, the most talented team in the Western Conference for me. I got about 9-1 during the summer. This is a team that is well poised to win the title. The one question mark I have with them is if they get off to a slow start, how far up does their number creep? Now, NBA bookmakers are very, very calm with moving numbers on teams in the NBA, unless if there's a significant injury, because we don't know on a nightly basis what the effort's going to be from a lot of these teams. So be on the lookout if Oklahoma City's number goes up at all. If not, 6-1 I think is fair. And then the only other one I would be willing to bet on the number, the only other two I should say that I'd be looking to look at right now, Denver 12-1. They still have the best player in the NBA, Nikola Jokic. Still the best player. Won the title 2 years ago. Not as gassed as they were with the earlier exit last year in the playoffs. 12-1 I think is good. And then Milwaukee, look, we know the issue with Doc Rivers. We know that Damian Lillard is aging at this point. Chris Middleton missed opening night, but Giannis Antetokounmpo is still there. And in an Eastern Conference where Philadelphia, the Knicks, Miami looked awful last night on opening night and the loss to Orlando. Cleveland, I'm not buying as a real threat. There is a path for a second team to really push Boston, and it makes a whole lot of sense if it would be Milwaukee. And if you look at those Eastern Conference odds, the Milwaukee Bucks are sitting at 7-1 behind us right now to win the East. That is the best bet of anything on the board right now when it comes to a conference future right now, because you're just getting a huge number on the Bucks. And look, you see Celtics plus 150. The Knicks, again, I just think the Knicks are too short at this point. Clearly a playoff team, clearly a top four team in the East, yes. But man, that price is way too short on New York. Philly, again, just forget the Sixers. Don't even look at the Sixers right now. Don't even look at them. It's not worth your time. They're just not any good. Yeah, exactly. Can you cover your eyes? Right, exactly. Don't even look at the Philadelphia 76ers right now. They're just not worth your time at this point. Milwaukee's the best bet in the East. And then on the West side of things, I think these prices are all pretty fair. It's Denver. It's Denver and Oklahoma City on the West. I will say this. The price on the Lakers and the Warriors are both too short for obvious reasons. They're teams that the public loves betting on. But, again, I don't want to overreact to one game. The Lakers are much better than people are giving them credit for this year. They improved at head coach because Darvin Ham was not an NBA head coach. It's okay. Top assistant. Nothing wrong with that. And yeah, JJ's never had any experience as a coach, and I get it. And I think a lot of people don't like this when people come from the broadcast booth without any coaching experience and end up coaching. I get it. But I think the Lakers are much better than the market is giving them credit for. And the Warriors, their roster's the deepest they've been in a while. So, especially since 22. I mean, obviously they won the title then. But look, those would be the team, or excuse me, 21, I should say. But those are the two teams that I would look at more so than anything. As, again, if the prices end up working out, sure. 12-1's too short on both of those. Let's see if they elevate through the season. The individual NBA games tonight, though, there's 4 of them. Just rattling through these quickly. I'm looking for reasons to bet the Wizards tonight, and I just can't find them. It makes sense. Wizards I have as a bottom 4 team in the NBA. Celtics, here's the deal. I know the Celtics, if you look at the final numbers with the Celtics, they ended up shooting under 50% from 3 against the Knicks, which, if you watch the game, the Celtics missed the last 14 threes they took. So they were just blistering for most of that game. They also had the motivation of, hey, our banner's going up. And again, weird to say, but a disrespect of a summer for Tatum and Jaylen Brown. 14's a lot of points in an NBA game, guys. It's a lot of points. I want to see how high this goes, but I probably, if I were to play this, I would only play the Washington Wizards in this game, as ridiculous as that may seem. The Battle of Texas, it's 8.5 with Dallas at home against San Antonio. Year number 2 for Victor Wembanyama, who I expect to take a leap into the top 5 players by the end of the year. I think San Antonio's a little bit disrespected in the market, but the West is so deep, it's probably going to be hard for them to make the playoffs this year. For game 1, it would only be a take on San Antonio, but no strong feelings on this one. For Luka and the Mavs, just a matter of staying healthy. He's already battling a little bit of an injury to begin the season. The best game of the day, Oklahoma City goes to Denver. Denver's 2-point favorites at home against OKC. This number is spot on. Look in game. And this has been my strategy early in the year. Look for games where a favorite is down, getting a plus price money line against an inferior team. I don't know if it works in this one, but there will be opportunities throughout the early part of the season on this. Or also, if Oklahoma City gets in a big hole, maybe you take the Thunder plus the points if you're getting double digits. But again, be on the lookout for that in-game scenarios. And then Sacramento hosts Minnesota. This will only be a play on the Kings. Look for the best number out there. It's basically 1 and pick in the market. Just look for the best number on the money line for Sacramento. Right now, that best number is even money on the Kings. That would be the way that I would look for the Kings on their opener and the Timberwolves in game number 2. Again, I think the Timberwolves are going to take some time to mesh here this year. All right, before we go for the road, 2 hockey plays today. Let's go to Tampa first. The Minnesota Wild, coming off a nice win in Sunrise against the defending champs, will take on the Tampa Bay Lightning, and the market has agreed with me on this game. It's open Tampa Bay minus 135. It's now up to minus 145. That's basically the peak that you can go with Tampa here. I would not go any higher than this. I thought minus 135 was a great price on the Lightning. And by the way, some other shops just moved this price as well. So if you want minus 145, you got to get it right now because it's not going to last much longer than another 5 minutes or so in the market. Better team at home with Minnesota coming off a big upset win against the defending champs. It is a good spot to go against and fade Minnesota here in this game, liking the Tampa Bay Lightning in this one. And in the other game, we go to the Pacific Northwest. The Kraken welcome the Jets. Winnipeg minus 125 behind us. You can find some plus 110s on the dog here. Again, I liked this a little bit last night when we were going through the rundown. Look at this. Look at me. Hockey Sharp apparently betting correctly on the market. I actually took plus 120 late afternoon yesterday on the Kraken. Now the market's come back. I see plus 105 on Seattle. I think plus 105 is probably not good enough to justify it. But plus 110, which is readily available, I would still go ahead and take a shot on the Kraken in this one against Winnipeg. So Tampa, Seattle, the 2 looks and the plays in hockey here this afternoon. All right. That's all the time we got here today. Gone Racing comes your way at the top of the hour. Playoff time in NASCAR. Very exciting race here this past week in Las Vegas, won by Joey Logano over at the South Point 400. was a great time if you're out there at the Speedway here in Vegas. Playoffs continue this weekend. So Jeff Motley and Brendan Gaughan coming your way on the South Point studio page at the top of the hour. I'm Jeff Parles. We're back on this channel at 3 o'clock. Myself, Ryan McCormick, Football Frenzy, Vikings and the Rams, 2 college football games, our NFL Power Rankings, and a look ahead at the week ahead in both college and the NFL. That's at 3. We'll see you then right here on this channel, right here on Sports by the Book.